wasn't muted. Once again, I'm up late and I'm going to entitle this particular episode the episode about vampires or vampires are coming. I haven't decided which yet, but I will be getting some snappy music in the future because I'm told that that really helps. I'm interested in knowing, is there anyone out there who is as fascinated ab- about vampires as I am? The reason I ask is because they seem to be making a comeback, and quite frankly, I'm here for it. I personally have been in love with vampires since I first read Dracula as a kid. I thought it was going to be really boring because I found it in a stack of old moldy paperbacks that my grandmother had. But I was entranced, and I have been entranced ever since about about the concept of the immortal that walks at night and lives forever. Mm. I'm planning on reviewing Let the Right One In, which Showtime is doing, because I really enjoyed the original film. The remake, not as much. I also plan on reviewing Interview with a Vampire, one of my favorite books. I discovered that series originally when, um, what was the name of that album? Um, One second. Uh, uh, uh. No one wants to hear me sing. Was it Dream of the Blue Turtles? One second, I'm looking it up right now. I should really be prepared, right? I believe it was Dream of the Blue Turtles. Yes. When Dream of the Blue Turtles came out, that was like the hot album. I was the hugest Sting fan. And I happened upon this single, Moon Over Bourbon Street. I wasn't really crazy about it when I first heard it because it sets a completely different tone. It has a completely different feel for the type of music that's on the rest of the album. It's very melodic and it's also kind of moody. This was during a time when I read the liner notes of music, right? And one of the cool things about having a physical copy of music, whether it's an album or a CD, they usually included these extensive liner notes, which had not only tons of pictures, but the lyrics to all of the songs and other notes from the musicians, especially if the artist was a singer or songwriter, like if he had written the song. So there would be some additional backstory about the song. And so back in those days, the beauty of listening to cassette tapes, yeah, I know I'm old. But the beauty of listening to cassette tapes was that you could literally listen to the whole thing without touching the physical instrument that it was on. And so you would listen to tapes back to back, especially if you had a long commute. So not only would you listen to your favorite songs, it was really too much trouble a lot of times to fast forward and reverse unless something was absolutely your favorite or you had a very expensive Walkman that you could actually see the individual track times. But that would come much later. No, so what would happen is you would listen to the whole thing all the way through. And in listening to the whole thing all the way through, one of the things that would happen to me all the time is that I would end up in a situation where certain songs that really didn't appeal to me in the beginning started to grow on me. I just started to get to this place where I was like, oh yeah. And I would just find myself really enjoying certain songs and I would want to learn about them. And I would end up reading the lyrics and getting really deep off into what was on the artist's brain that he added this particular song to the album. Okay, I'm digressing too much, I know. But the thing that attracted me to this song in part was that Sting included in the linear notes that in the liner notes, I just said liner notes. Ugh. In the liner notes, he included a notation that the song was inspired by a book called Interview with a Vampire, written by Anne Rice, that he had read one day. I believe I might be making this part up. I believe he read it in an airport or something. He found a copy of it and it was fascinating to him and he finished it and it inspired this song. I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And I said, "Well, I wonder what this book is about because the lyrics become very haunting and very gothic." And I was, the classic goth girl at the time. So I was really into that whole dark and brooding and capes and brimstone and treacle, another Sting project, I might add. And so I was into the whole goth, dark thing of London. So I'm like, if Sting says this is good, I gotta read it. So I went to the bookstore and I said, "Excuse me, but do you have Interview with a Vampire?" And the lady goes, "I don't know what it is. I can tell you right now we don't have it and that it's out of print." What? It's been out of print for years. And you're about the 20th person who's come in today and asked for it. And I said, huh. And because so many of Sting's fans kept asking for this book, kept trying to find it, the demand just increased across the country so great. They did a reprint of it. As soon as they do the reprint, it makes all the trades. It's big news. Everybody has to have this book. It's the hottest thing going. Everybody's got to have this book. Everybody runs out, goes and gets this book, and falls madly in love with Lewis and Lestat. Okay? And everybody just assumes that when this movie comes out, Sting is the only person who can play Lestat because in our minds, he was the creature that Anne Rice was describing. Anne Rice says, "Yup, that's exactly who I had in mind," because she had had a crush on Sting too, because she has excellent taste. Well, we all know how that story goes. And while Interview with a Vampire, the movie wasn't a bad movie, Tom Cruise just wasn't a great choice. I mean, from the blonde, I mean, he was wildly popular at the time, but from the blonde wig to the Tom Cruise-ness of him, he just wasn't a great choice. So it was one of those things where we lived with it because we really wanted to see Interview with the Vampire come to the big screen. I know a lot of people, when it originally came out, took the stance they didn't want to see it if Sting wasn't going to play Lestat. And I was like, okay, I understand, but I had to see it because Interview with a Vampire was everything at the time. And I've read all of the books. I haven't read them in a while. I promised myself that I was going to reread them before the series started. Let me see here. Interview View of the Vampire, and I'm going to type in books. Does anybody read anymore? Interview with the Vampire. Hopefully, this Wikipedia page. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Because Vampire Lestat was the book with the red cover. I remember it well. Oh God, it's all coming back to me. That one was absolutely brilliant. Um, the Queen of the Dam. I get it, but the movie and the book were kind of not my favorites. The Tale of the Body Thief. I might have skipped that one and gone right on to the next book, which was Minnock the Devil. I believe that's what I did. I don't believe I read the book before that. And I also read The Vampire Armand because Armand was kind of an intriguing character to me. So, what I'm hoping is that the vampire series that we can do for vampires what my fellow nerds have done for the MCU. Okay. And we won't talk about DC Comics. But my thinking is that if we really reach out and really like the goth weird kids really reach out and support this in numbers and attract an audience that is interested in um seeing the Vampire Chronicles series incorporated into a full universe. Right? Wouldn't that be really cool? Wouldn't it be really cool if the vampire series, the Vampire Chronicles, could have a really long run, not outstay its welcome like The Walking Dead, but have a really long, good run of complex characters that kind of bring the whole thing to the fore and actually bring to life all of these great characters we've been in love with for decades onto the page. I'd be interested in that. I'm really interested to see what people's modern concept of the vampire is going to be like. And what's that going to look like in terms of their casting and their script writing. So I'm really excited. And I guess I'm trying to do a little preemptive warm up to the vampire series. So what I would like to do is I would like to do a nightly review of some of my favorite vampire movies. I would also like to do a discussion if you're interested in some of your favorite vampire movies, like The Lost Boys, Interview with a Vampire, need to see it again. Of course, Bram Stoker's Dracula. No shade. Gary Oldman is one of the sexiest Draculas ever, right? So if that's something that you're interested in, drop some of your favorite vampire films in my DMs. Leave me a comment. Tell me which vampire films you'd like to discuss, what vampire TV shows you're looking forward to. Heck, just who are some of your favorite vampires? And no, exes don't count unless you dated Dracula, and then I want to interview you, girl. Anyway, or maybe Spike. Spike. And yeah, for all the Buffy girls out there, I was team Spike. We can have a discussion sometimes about what I thought about Angel and why he wasn't my favorite vampire on Buffy. I might do that um podcast at a later time, but I have to organize my thoughts because I'm just really getting used to my equipment. But that's just some late night random thoughts that I had. Um anyway, like, share, comment, subscribe. This is the Empath Diaries, a late night podcast with Citizen Jane. I'm trying to get more comfortable with this microphone. I'm gonna be setting up my mic, and I'm gonna have a pop screen and like all the equipment. So I'm gonna be ready. Now, if I could only get some views in the algorithm, I know you guys would absolutely love me, or we would love each other, whichever way it works. I know there's got to be other night owls out there besides me who want to sit up and have meaningful conversation about dragons and vampires and other things that just scare the crap out of us. So, like, share, comment, subscribe. Citizen Jane, I'm out.